Adonis Vasitach V'Yagid Tel Sechel Lasan Nachas Baruch Etrenu. So again, tonight, B'siyata Dishmai, we have the incredible honor and privilege of sitting down with Rabbi Yossi Bensoussan, another incredible speaker, teacher of Torah. Really an incredible privilege for me and for all of us. Just to introduce myself for the people that are going to be hearing this recording that might not know me, my name is Kyle Zeldin. I'm in 12th grade, finishing 12th grade at the Community Hebrew Academy of Toronto. Next year, I'll be learning in Eish Gesher, and then after that at Yeshiva University, where I hope to eventually receive smicha from there. So that's basically a little bit about me. I currently run a lot of different WhatsApp groups sharing Torah, including one with Rav Gershon, with Amashares of Rav Gershon Edelstein Shlita in Bnei Brak. How I get in contact with Rav Gershon is a mystery to me too, but Baruch Hashem, that's that. And as well, I am the author of Opening Lines, a small sefer on the first pasuk or the first two psukim of each and every parsha. So Baruch Hashem, I've done a lot, and there's a long way to go. But it's all because of my parents and my Rebbeim, one of who I know I have in common with Rabbi Bensoussan, Rabbi Yitzchak Berkovich Shlita. And so as a fellow Talmud, it's an incredible privilege to be able to sit down with Rabbi Bensoussan here tonight.
Does that put me on? Does that mean I'm a go? Am I a go? Okay.
You are a go.
How's it going, everybody? Okay, I from what I understood, we were going to be going for more of a. Sorry, I'm leaning back over here. Like, it's been a long day up in there. So, what's the weather like in Toronto by you guys? Because it's about to snow here. So
we're getting sort of that wintry weather now too.
Yeah. Well, okay.
But we don't go outside these days anyways, so.
Yeah, that's true. At least you guys get to blame your parents. I decided to live here. It's a different thing. Okay, so my understanding was, I'm doing like 3D. So my understanding is that we're doing question and answer, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we're definitely taking a few questions.
Okay, good. So I'm going to start. I'm just going to start off with us over here. Something that if you're not on this app yet, you definitely should be. If you have apps, if you don't have a phone, don't get one for this. Go buy a Gemara. You'll do better that way, I promise. Or a book. Buy a book. I look this way when I say books because I have my favorite books are all right next to me on my shelf over there. That's my go-tos. So or go buy a book, any of them. So but on the Meaningful Minute app, they have incredible content. Some some very good speakers, and then just some pretty faces like this guy. So he had a thing the other day from Milo Bitterman, who's fantastic. He's probably currently the only reason I'm happy I speak Yiddish. Because when you read the subtitles over there, it's nice, it's good, it's amazing, and they did a great job on the subtitles. But to really be able to fully, understand the flavor of how he's speaking is fantastic. And he said an unbelievable part. It's so incredible. It's so amazing. I had to, I got to share it with you guys. And it's really the topic that where we are right now is really, we're in Sefiras Ha'Omer. It's not what he said. This is Yossi Bensoussan. So you can sleep for about a minute, and then you'll hear Miles better. So we're in Sefiras Ha'Omer right now, and the whole idea, the whole concept of what we're doing right now in Sefiras Ha'Omer is being able to take ourselves and connect to other people. Being able to take ourselves and be able to renew relationships with people, be able to connect with people, be able to connect on a deeper level, on a more real level. And one of the reasons that we get so off kilter in relationships with people is because the stories that we tell ourselves, because we're trying to control a situation that isn't controllable, because we believe that someone else should act a certain way and they're not acting that way. But that's all our fault, because that's all a story and a problem that we told ourselves. It's all a story and an issue that we told ourselves, that we have ourselves convinced of. And now everyone else has to act out their role according to what I decided their role is supposed to be. But that's insanity. Rabbi Bensoussan says in this week's parsha we speak about kibbud av v'em, and the Gemara over there in Brachas brings down an example. It says what's the story of kibbud av v'em? What's an example of kibbud av v'em? That brings down an example of kibbud av v'em. What's the example it brings down? You shouldn't sit in your father's seat. You shouldn't sit in your father's seat. Says Rabbi Bensoussan, of all the examples and of all the things and of all the stuff you could have said, sitting in your father's seat, like that's the one. Honestly, it's the one I don't have koach for. You see this chair right here, which I love. My wife got it for me. I love it because my wife got it for me. That's aside from the fact, but also I love it because it happens to be an awesome chair. I'm not a very tall person by any stretch of the imagination. I'm actually kind of short, and this is a big and tall chair. So I sit in it like a throne. But my kids sometimes they want to sit in the big chair, so they come and sit in that, and I don't have the koach to be like, that's my seat. It's your father's chair. And I tell my wife not to do it either because I don't have the strength to sit there telling them not to sit in my seat. Like that's the big one. What about when your kids yell at you, when they disrespect you? Like say anything, listen to your father, honor your father, bring him something to eat. Don't wake him. I don't know. Sitting in his chair. So back in the day when everyone had their chair, we switched it. It used to be that everyone had their seat, their chair that they would sit in, their shoes. Nowadays, everyone has their phone. There's no more communal phone. It used to be when I was a kid, there was a communal phone. It was on a wall. It was connected to a wall, and everyone would use the same phone. That was it. That was your phone. That was it. Nowadays, everyone has their phone. That's a very private, very intimate thing. So if my kids would use my phone, let's say even now, it's still not a thing. Like why that? Why sitting in my seat? Says Rabbi Bensoussan, unbelievable. He says, this is the Rabbi Shalom telling us something. Kibbud av v'em we know directly connects with how we connect to Rabbi Shalom, and you'll see this with people all over the place. A person who has a healthy relationship with their parents usually has a healthy relationship with their creator. A person who has an unhealthy relationship with their parents usually struggles in their relationship with their creator. Says the Rabbi Shalom, says Rabbi Bensoussan. Rabbi Shalom is saying something to us over here. That connection, a direct connection, is when we talk about kibbud av v'em, we're also talking about our kibbud or our connection to Hashem. So what's the big deal sitting in the seat? Says Rabbi Bensoussan. Rabbi Shalom is saying to us, don't sit in my seat. Don't sit in my seat. I run the world. Don't sit in my seat. Don't try running the world. Don't try saying this is how this should be and this is how this should be and this person should do this thing and that person should do that thing. Don't sit in my seat. I'm the only one who could sit in my seat. There's a famous therapist by the name of, actually she's not a therapist, but she created a mode of therapy not being a therapist. So it's pretty impressive. I think her book is there. Her book is out on loan. When I say out on loan, I mean my wife must have took it to read and never put it back. So the book is called Loving What Is. It's a woman named Brene Brown. Nope, it's not Brene Brown. It's Loving What Is was written by Byron Katie, and she has a concept in there that it's called Loving What Is how to love your life in the moment, how to love everyone's life in the moment, no matter what you're going through. Byron Katie says that there's three businesses in this world. There's my business, there's other people's business, and then there's God's business. My anxiety, my unhappiness, my depression usually stems from when I live in someone else's business, when I live outside of my business. So when I live and I say other people should be acting a certain way, that's me living in their business now. I'm not in my business anymore. When I say the world should be a certain way, or this in the world should be a certain way, or that thing shouldn't have happened to that person, or that thing should happen to that other person, I'm living in God's business. And even me within myself, if I say I should be taller, I shouldn't be bold, I shouldn't be this, I shouldn't be that, I'm living in God's business. It's not my business. Even if it has to do with me, it's not my business. My business is what I can do and what I can control, what I can put out there. When we come to relationships can be so much more beautiful, so much more peaceful when the only thing I'm concerned about is what's my responsibility here. And if someone else fulfills or doesn't fulfill their responsibility, that's not my business. The only part that's my business is whether or not I fulfill my responsibility within that relationship. Everyone's always looking for the out. Everyone's always looking for the excuse to why they don't have to do something, why they don't have to do this, they don't have to do that. But in reality, no matter what they tell themselves, you always have to do what's your responsibility. And how someone else reacts or doesn't react, that's up to them. That has nothing to do with you. That's completely up to them. And we're working during Sefiras Ha'Omer to get along with people, to create positive relationships, to repair the bad ones, to do all these things during Sefiras Ha'Omer. What are we saying? We're saying, I'm going to get over my ego. I'm going to get over my trying to sit in God's chair. And instead, I'm going to sit in my chair. I'm going to do what's my responsibility. Okay, guys, I'm going to throw it out there for you guys. Anyone who has any questions, anyone who has anything, now's the time. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Feel free to write in the chat if you don't want to read it out, or to just raise your hand and mute yourself. Isaac.
Okay. So I listened to, I know there were like lots of Bensoussan in Twarani time, and it's like Ari, of Duvi, of Yossi. I'm just wondering, is there something about your upbringing that like really influenced all of you guys to become like amazing speakers and rabbis, influential rabbis?
So, thank you. Yeah, I'm not actually related to any of those guys. No, I'm joking. That would have been weird, right? I mean, we look exactly
right? Actually, you got me now.
What would the odds have been if we looked exactly alike? We have the same weird last name too. It's not like our last name is code. Hell, we're just not related. I met him once. I don't know. No. So listen, there's definitely there's a podcast out right now where my brother and I waste an hour of other people's time, and we on one of the episodes, I'm not sure which one, they were recorded in like September. I don't remember, but on one of them, I think it might be the Chinuch one, I really don't remember. On one of them, we discuss a lot about the upbringing and my parents and everything. But in a nutshell, we actually all found it differently, to be honest with you. My brother Duvi was the leader, and it's good of you to know that he's my brother. A lot of people think that he's our father. He's very much not. My father Leandra is in his 80s now, so he's not my father, unless he's a really good-looking 80-year-old. But he's not my father. But my brother Duvi started. He went into Rabbanos. But all of us found it, on our own. I personally myself did a few jobs, to be honest with you, way before I was doing Rabbanos. One of them included, writing for, writing for things that almost became shows and stuff like that. So, we definitely had different paths and different things that we were doing. The speaking part is a good question that I don't really have that great of an answer to. My brothers always make fun of me that I didn't speak till I was 14, and I mean speak like I didn't talk. They always say like Yossi was a very late talk. Like anytime anyone says like, oh, my 2-year-old hasn't started saying words yet, they're like, don't worry about it. I have a brother Yossi. He was a very late talker also. He didn't talk till he was like 14. But I like to say I was gathering information that whole time. But the fact of the matter is that what we were raised with was, from my father specifically, was an extreme of responsibility and honesty. So, he made us understand that we have a responsibility to the world, and that responsibility goes two ways. So he used to quote the Mishnah, still does quote the Mishnah, should, live and be well. He used to quote the Mishnah in Avos that says, Makam she'en lo ish, ishtadel liot ish. That in a place where there is no man doing something, where there is no person doing something, strive to be that man, fulfill that void. So he always used to say, what the Mishnah doesn't say over there is, Avamakam she'yeshish, but in a place where there is a person, don't try going into competition with people for no reason. You go do your own thing. I almost left speaking and doing this for a long time, especially after the app came out, because I was like, there's so many people on here, like they don't need me anymore. I'm good to go. Nachi Gordon, who runs Meaningful Minute, had something else to say, so I went with him on that. But the point is that as far as the way we were raised, I will say this: we were raised, although believe it or not, it's a big family, we were raised as individuals, and that's for me that was the most important thing. The story I like to use to illustrate it is that my brother Ari is known to be the favorite child. That's just the way it is. He's the favorite. So we were making a joke about it one time at like Shabbos. I was with a few of my brothers back in the day when we used to get together for Shabbos, and it was doable. And we were saying a joke, and one of my sister-in-laws, one of my other brother's wives, said to, I think it was me, she said, you're making jokes and everything, but come on, it has to be hurtful that and everyone knows that Ari's your parents' favorite. So I said, it's not. Honestly, I don't know why, but it's not. It's just not. It's not. I don't care. So I said, how is that? Like, why not? So I said, because in reality, he might be their favorite. But like, we're talking about my father specifically. So I was like, he might be my father's favorite. But, my father loves me the most. And that is the truth. There's no one my father likes spending time with more than me. He will admit that. All my siblings will admit that. They'll be like, if my father had to choose to spend time with one of us, like right now, he'd be like, he wants to sit down and have a drink with one of us, it would for sure be Yossi. No questions asked, easy answer, right? So to me, that's real connection. So they said, okay, Yossi's, the one that they want to spend the most time with, or they're the most relaxed with, or they have the most fun with, or whatever it is. Ari's the favorite. So they turn to my brother Avi, and they're like, Avi, don't you feel bad that Yossi and Ari have so he's like, they don't know what they're talking about. So he's like, favorite, It's like fun, good times, He's like, I'm my father's confidant. My father tells me everything. It's like, I know things about my father. I know things about my father's life. I know things about my father's current life that both my brothers, all five of my brothers, have no idea. They'll never know. And he was like, so with me, that's a real relationship. And we kept going through like sibling to sibling to sibling, and everybody had their own thing. And the amazing part is that we all thought that our thing was the best. It was like the best thing to have. And we all thought we knew him best. We're like, you don't know. Really? All my father wants to do is sit down and have a tea with somebody, and that's me. And my brother's like, no, yes. All Abba wants to do is have someone to confide in, and that's me. And my brother Ari was like, that's not true. All he wants is that, and everyone kept going around. So to me, I like to say that we were raised as a family, but we were also raised as only children in that way, where the individual was celebrated tremendously, and we were taught how to do that for ourselves. That we brought that out. And the truth is that however similar we are, when you look at the way we work with people or what we chose to do, the nuances to it is all that. For me, I'm always out to coffee with someone when I'm working with them. I'm always out to eat with them. I'm always out to, my brother Ari is always developing a connection with them on a certain level, but not past a certain thing, because that's his favoritism part. And then, he'll choose you out of a crowd. He'll, my brother Avi is a very big confidant, and from and to people, and that's how he develops relationships. So you realize that like all of us do our own thing based on that relationship that we all have, with our father. So, really they raise us to do that. But the final thing that I'll say is that we were put through hell. That's the truth. I'm saying it was a very difficult, growing up the way we grew up, where we grew up, when we grew up. My parents were from a previous generation than we were. They were post-Holocaust survivors, but my mom was raised by Holocaust survivors. Well, Holocaust escapers, not necessarily survivors, but of that generation. And my father came over to America when he was 13 by himself with no family. His mother wasn't by his wedding. Like, he didn't see them again until he was in his 20s. Imagine a 13-year-old kid nowadays leaving and coming back when he's in his 20s. Like, it's unheard of. And he went just to learn Torah and everything. So there's a lot there. But, growing up like that in the middle of Brooklyn, when we grew up in an all Yiddish speaking elementary school, when we were Sephardim, it wasn't easy. It was a little bit difficult, but all those things together, it was all just the confidence that our parents gave us, to be honest with you. They just believed in us fully and absolutely. Even my father, who was a lot tougher on us than my mom, we knew it was coming, which is hard to pull off nowadays as a parent, but we knew it was always coming from the place that he held us in a very high regard. And his look, when he would give us a look, like the look was, when we're doing something wrong, give us a look. The look wasn't, I'm disappointed in you. The look wasn't, I don't like you, God forbid. The look was always, you're bigger than that. You shouldn't be doing that because you're bigger than that. And it was instilled in us as, little kids. So, honestly, it's funny you say influential. I live in Cleveland, and I'm sure there are people, in other cities that I am reaching. I still think there's like 8 people that maybe listen to what I have to say out there in general. When I walk around Cleveland, everyone, people know me, and I work in the yeshiva here and everything. So it's not that like no one says anything, no one, and I don't leave that. Well, I do leave pretty often, but I don't walk around that much, I guess. So outside of here. So, to me, it's easy to do because I'm not exactly afraid of, saying anything or doing anything because I don't think anyone's listening anyway. So there is that. But for my brothers, it would be a great question to ask them, about the speaking and everything. I don't know. It's just, we're really bad liars, to be honest with you. So, when it comes to the speaking, as long as we're speaking about something we're passionate about, we're good speakers. If you try getting us up there to sell something, which is why, if you ever listen to this podcast that we have, you'll always be able to tell when we're scripted or unscripted, or when we're being told to say something or not say something, because we're just not passionate about it. It's not, we didn't decide to say that. So it's very difficult. We'll be stuttering halfway through. Like all of a sudden you're like, what the heck happened to this guy? Like, do you have a stroke in the middle of this thing? Like, why is he talking like that? And that's the reason. Yeah. I hope that answers.
Yeah. The Torah Anytime telethon comes to mind when you were just speaking for hours and hours upon end.
That was some record with that thing. I didn't. We thought that was going to be about 6 hours long, 7 hours long. I think it was 13 at the end or something like that. It was some crazy.
I looked at my computer. I came back. It was still on. They said they were ending in an hour, and it was on 3 hours later. It was.
That was really the torturous part, is that we kept thinking it was ending, and then it wasn't. It just kept going on and on and on. It was, that was a rough one. I think they want to do it again this year. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not that young. I think that age years.
That was really a tremendous thing. If anyone else, I'm going to put it out there, and then we'll do one last question if no one else has anything. Okay, I'll throw this one out here just because I'm close with people like Rabbi Avi Fishoff or Moshe Weinberger, people that really are in the know in both Kiruv Chokim and Kiruv Krovim in different aspects. But I've never heard the Lashon, the language, as pointedly as it was put on the podcast that you did, which came out yesterday online, where you said that, and I think to me this was like one of the shocking, like I always knew this, but no one's ever like said it straight, which is that when people go off of the derech, we assume that they were ever on the derech. So to me, and I know my phone and people have been talking to me about that one line all day today. So my question is, okay, but how do we make it sure that there is a spectrum of different paths that people are actually on, so we don't ever come to that situation where you're dealing with people where you say they're off the derech, but they never were really on the derech to begin with? So
I love the line too, if I may say so myself, but it doesn't mean it's not true. It is. It just means that the line itself is a little bit of what we call a debate end. It that line ends debates. The reason it ends debates is that it's completely provable. It's a fact. Once you hear it, you know it's true when you think about it, and it doesn't go against it. What does that mean? It doesn't go against it. You can't go against it. What does that mean? You can't go against it. So this is how it works. When I say that when someone went off the derech, we can't really call them off the derech because they were never on. It's because the derech, I can only refer and respond and comment on the derech that I'm on. I don't know anyone else's derech. I can only comment or refer to the derech I'm on. And the derech I'm on, you can't leave. Even if you do, you didn't. You can't leave this. It becomes what you are. What you believe in becomes part of you. It's very intrinsic. The reason I don't get too involved in debates of, why does God do this and that, and people, is because I know him. I'm too nogea b'davar, in my opinion. I know him. I talk to him all the time. Like, I can't sit there debating with you whether or not my father was a good father. I get way too emotional. The debate wouldn't last before it got physical. For me, now, I'm not saying you should be like that. You got to be calm when you're talking to people and understanding of their situation and their trauma and so on and so forth. But my point is that for me, the path that I'm on, you can't leave that. So if someone went off, what are we really referring to? They just stopped doing stuff. Their inside never changed. It's only one day they woke up and they're like, just not feeling it anymore. That never happened in the history of man. It was something inside of them for a long time. Now, to doubt God or to doubt the Torah, that's all fine. That's all okay. That's not, when a kid goes off, and what we're referring to by off, and I made a big stink about this. You mentioned Avi Fishoff, made a big stink about this by Avi Fishoff's Shabbaton once. How come people can't just go off the derech? Like, why can't they just go off the derech? Just go off. I have a cousin of mine who didn't want to be religious anymore as a kid, right? He got a little older, still didn't want to be religious. He became a cop, never did drugs, never was promiscuous with women, never partied too hard, like just regular stuff, never anything, right? Regular guy. He's a police officer now. He happens to be a religious Jew now. He came back, but he's a religious Jew now. Shomer Shabbos, Shomer Kosher, from God. He's still a cop, good man, right? How come no one does that? Just you never hear about a guy who's like, that's it, I'm done with this religion. I'm stupid. It's so stupid. And then he goes and becomes a surgeon. It never happens, right? There's always drugs involved and promiscuity and this and that. And I say to my guys all the time, I'm like, guys, you got to wake up in the morning. You got to wake up early. You're like, why? If I don't daven shacharis, why? I'm like, Goyim don't daven shacharis. They still don't feel it's okay for anyone to wake up at 2 p.m. I know non-Jews like, yeah, no, we all do that. That's normal. That's fine. Sure, wake up at 2. Why not? We don't daven shacharis. None of them say that. They're like, you're a lowlife. Go do something with yourself. No one does that. When a guy goes off the derech, there's this involvement, that activity involved. Someone gets arrested. This happens, that. Why? Very simple. Because they're not going off the derech. They're acting out. There's pain. There's trauma. I'm not saying they're wrong, but it's hurtful. There's so much more there. We got off the derech. Like the most important part of what this kid's going through is the fact that he doesn't keep Shabbos anymore. It's not. The most important part of his going through is that he was probably abused or worse in some way, has some horrific trauma, and we're trying to get him to keep Shabbos. It's a joke. The whole thing's a joke. If a person is truly connected to the Rabban Shalom, they're on the derech. For that guy to go off the derech, I've never met him in my life. I've been doing this a very long time. I've never met that guy. No one ever said to me, no one has ever once said to me, I was truly connected to Hashem. I loved him. And then I went off. I never heard it. Never once. Yeah, I've had people say to me, when I was younger, when I was in 7th grade, I used to learn all day and I would daven. And I asked them what learning or davening was. It might as well have been math and whatever. It didn't mean anything. There's no real connection there. So to me, they were never on. They never bought in. And no kid is. As we get older, we got to choose this stuff for ourselves. Everyone's always jealous of the of Gerim. Because Gerim get to choose at 13 whether or not they want to do this. You also do. Yeah, you won't have. You're going to be held accountable at some point for being a Jew and not that fine. But at some point, you got to buy in. You got to choose that this is what you want. That guy's on the derech. That guy's superbly on the derech. We all know the signs of someone going off. No one has any idea what a guy who's on looks like. The famous story of the Stipler. They came to the Stipler guy and they said to him, you know, we want a bracha for good kids. He said, daven. The Stipler always told everyone to daven. He said, daven. And they said, yeah, but we want a bracha for good kids. He said, daven. So okay, but we want a bracha for good kids. And the Stipler looked up at him. I always imagine the Stipler. I don't know if you guys know, but I always imagine the Stipler with it sitting there with that sitter in that famous picture of the Stipler. That's how he sat all day in my head. So he's sitting over there and he looks up at them and he said, daven. And the guy, I guess, got frustrated with the Stipler. I don't know how that was possible, but the guy got frustrated and he turns to the Stipler and he says, Shanka daven, I already daven. Now I want a bracha from my kids to be Banan Talmid Echam. The Stipler looked up and he said to him, Shanka daven, you already daven? He said, yeah. He said, how old's your kid? He said, it's 2, 3. He said, I still daven today with tears. I beg the Rebbeinu Shalom that my son Chaim should be okay. Chaim Kanievsky at that point was in his 50s and a Rosh Hashiva already. He's like, I still don't know if he's going to make it. I still don't know if he's going to be okay in this world. So I still daven that he's going to be okay. Now, what's buying in? Buying in is that deep level. Again, everybody knows what a kid going off the derech looks like. No one knows what the kid who's on looks like. Because I'm telling you right now, if you think it's the kid who's wearing a black hat and a shirt and he just walked out. He just walked out of here. Trust me. That kid is not from. I hate the word from, but I'm saying that kid is not on the derech. It's not on any derech I know. And this is what I say to guys on both ends of the spectrum. When they've complained to me about rabbis doing horrible things, I say the same thing. That guy's off the derech. That guy's not on any derech I know. He's not on my derech. Well, some rabbi who stole money, this and that. I don't know what to tell you. That guy's not on my derech. I don't know what to tell you. He's not part of my religion. He claims to be a rabbi. He stole the title. I don't know. But he's not on the derech. He's definitely not on my derech. So I don't know what to tell you about the guy. This kid, we have all these kids who left religion. They left religion? They weren't a part of it. I'm not saying anything bad. I'm not saying bad about them. I'm saying stop. I'm saying the other way. I'm saying stop tying them with labels that aren't true. Because then the kid believes that he made a choice to leave and he didn't. He suffered some horrific trauma and is acting out based on it. We're calling it off the derech, like he made this cerebral, educated decision that I will no longer follow the tenements of the Torah. I'll end with this. You guys might have heard it already, but Rabbi Arlovsky one time had this guy come to him, an angry atheist came to him, and he said to him, I don't believe in God. I think the whole thing's stupid. He's like, I think you're all uneducated. I think the whole thing's stupid. So Arlovsky said to him, okay. He said, you're an educated guy? He said, been in college already 3 years. I'm an educated guy. I said, oh, it's very nice. He goes, so, I mean, you seem to be educated. So just want to ask you a few questions. I love knowing what's the information out there. So when you read through, Rambam, Mer Nevuchim, where he discusses the existence of God and the existence of the universe, creation of the universe rather. So, what do you think the answers are over there on him? So obviously the guy said, I never read Mer Nevuchim. He's like, oh, okay, that's fine. Mesilas Yesharim, Derech Hashem. No, I never read any of that. Okay, something more recent, English, fine, I get you. Anything, by Rabbi Kellerman, Victor Miller, any of the, like, I never read any of it. So Rylevsky says to the guy, he's like, pardon me, but you're not an atheist. You're an idiot. You have no information. You're not walking in with anything real. You're just saying, I don't see him. Yeah, okay. When these kids go off the derech, they're not doing this cerebrally. This doesn't make sense. This doesn't add up. It's not real. It's not like they went through this really. They might have debated it a few times with a person who had no idea what they were talking about. It's not real. So we say they weren't on before they went off. They were never on. How do you call someone like that on? He was bought in. You feel that guy's bought in? I question if I'm on the derech sometimes. As a matter of fact, I know I'm not sometimes. There are times where I'm just sitting there and not doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm not on the derech at that moment. And then I get back on my derech. It's a daily thing, on and off and on and off. But someone who was ever really on, who ever fully, really understood this, learned through it properly, really, logically, and intimately went through it, a guy doesn't go off. That's not how that works. The concept of going off doesn't even make sense. When you really see Torah for what it is, when you see learning for what it is. Fine. I'll end with one more story. I had this kid in Sfat, this boy Danny, very sweet kid. So he said, he said, I'm not from. So I said, no, he was Israeli. So he was like tough about it. He goes, I'm not from. And I'm not religious. I forgot. Oh no, I said, we needed a minion in Sfat. So I said, Danny, get in here. We need a minion for college. He's like, I'm not religious. I'm like, Danny, you're religious like 20 minutes ago. So you're not religious now. Okay. So let it get in. He's like, I'm not religious, Rabbi. I'm like, what do you mean you're not religious? He's like, I'm not Shomer Shabbos. He's like, what do you mean you're not Shomer Shabbos? He's like, I don't keep Shabbos. I was like, why? He's like, there weren't really that many phones back then, but let's say I think he said I turn on lights on Shabbos. I was like, Danny, I've forgotten that it's Shabbos before and I've turned on a light. Tell me I'm not Shomer Shabbos now. So he's like, yeah, but I didn't forget. I did it on purpose. I was like, all right, it's a little nuance of a difference. Like, you're so from about the details. You're so much frommer than I am, as a matter of fact. You already threw yourself out of the machane of Yidden. You already threw yourself off because you're so from about the details of why you broke Shabbos. He got so upset at me. He's yelling. He's like, I'm not religious. I'm like, you're so from. You're so much frommer than I am. You're so much frommer than I am. And you want to know why he's really so much frommer than I am? Because the reason this kid, so quote unquote, went off the derech was because rabbis around him acted like a bunch of animals. So what happened? He said, how does someone who's connected to God act like that? And how does Hashem allow people to walk around acting like that? This kid's a maimin. He believes in the oneness and the toiva of the Rabbeinu Shalom. He believes it so deeply. He can't stand the pain when he sees it go off. Kid might as well be a Rosh Hashiva. He's unreal. If a kid's off the derech, it's because he was never on. And most of the kids who are off the derech are more on than some of the people who are on the derech. It's just what we quantify as derech that really kind of gets a little bit gray. At the end of the day, the labels have always been wrong. That's everyone knows that. The labels have always been wrong. But what's worse is when we believe the labels that are about ourselves. Someone calls us off, someone calls us this, they're wrong. They're all wrong. They always have been, they always will be. We are our connection to the Rebbeinu Shalom. He knows us. We know him. We will always be able to pull through on that to say that we're on a derech. Final answer.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Bensoussan. It's really, for those of the people that are on the live now and the people that will be watching later, this has been in the works for quite some time now. So I'm really grateful that we were able to work this out. And Baruch Hashem, even though there weren't so many people on live tonight, that there will be people that will be benefiting from this after through the recording, and people who have already been messaging me saying, what did Rabbi Bensoussan say? So Baruch Hashem, it's all great things, and I'm very proud to call myself a Talmid of Rabbi Bensoussan and a Talmid of his Rabbi Yitzchak Berkovitz. And Baruch Hashem, the stuff that he said tonight, tying back into the conversation we had last night with Yitzchak Friedman, who's on tonight, about labels don't define us. Perfect back-to-back session, and hope you all tune in next week. And then the week after, we're going to be doing a special event with a bunch of different Jewish high school social media influencers and personalities, talking about sort of the pitfalls and also the benefits of social media and how to use social media properly. So that's something that we're working on. And Baruch Hashem, thank you, Rabbi Bensoussan, and thank you everyone for joining, and have a good night.